It is 8:39. Scotland Yard is checking for possible links between the gunman who killed 76 people in Norway and far-right groups in the UK. In an online manifesto, Anders Breivik claims he has an English mentor, boasts of having 600 friends on Facebook who are members of the English Defence League, and members have also admitted on the social networking site he took part in an EDL demonstration. Stephen Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, is the founder of the English Defence League. Good morning.
Good morning.
Maajid Nawaz joins us too, co-founder and executive director of the Quilliam Foundation, which studies Islamic extremism. Hello.
Hi.
What do you want me to call you, Stephen Lennon or Tommy Robinson, Mr. Lennon?
Whatever you want. First of all, can I just start by saying our deepest sympathies and our prayers and thoughts with all the victims of this horrific incident.
Right, okay, and let me start by putting it into context that you were yesterday found guilty of leading a street brawl involving 100 football fans.
If you want to put it into context.
Yeah, I did. 150 hours of unpaid work, a 3-year football banning order. Are you a political spokesman or a football thug? Can we just get that one clear?
I'll tell you what I am. A political spokesman. Our political spokesmen know nothing about what it's like at street level. I do. My experiences and the way I've grown up and where I've grown up, I can relate with every working class lad who's living in these communities near Islamic ghettos and the threat of Islam.
Well, there's a Luton Newport game. Why were you hurling bottles and stones and being a football
hooligan? You're lying, aren't you? You're lying, aren't you? Because I was convicted of raising my arms in the air. That's all I was convicted of. Section 400. If I was hurling bottles and stones, I wouldn't have got community service. I would have been sent to jail. All I was convicted of was putting my arms in the air.
Are you a football hooligan or a political spokesman?
Right. No, I'm not.
Mr. Lennon, can I ask you a question? Mr. Maajid Nawaz here. Can I ask you? I know what it's like on the street level. I grew up in Essex, being stabbed at by Combat 18 and far-right fascists. I know what you're talking about when it comes to being chased by people of the other creed or other faith. Now, I want to ask you a question. As a Muslim, I condemn every extreme Islamist that leads to terrorism, and you'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
I'd agree with that.
So do you condemn every far-right fascist that leads to terrorism?
I condemn every single one of them. That man was a criminal. He was an animal. He was a disgusting person. I discredited it. We always condemn any acts of violence. Now, let's see what that man...
I'm talking about you.
Wait a minute, Maajid.
Can I talk, Maajid? Let's look at what that man said about our organisation. On page 1438 of his document, he stated, the EDL are in fact anti-racist, anti-fascist and anti-Nazi. They have many members and leaders with non-European background, African and Asian. The EDL and my group's principles can never be reconciled. We are miles apart ideologically. The EDL harshly condemns any movement that uses...
You sound exactly like Islamists who say the same thing.
Wait.
But what are you going on about?
I'm going to ask you, before you debate with each other, I want to get some things clear from you, Mr. Lennon.
Okay, well clearly state...
Right, first of all, on Newsnight last night, you said, quote, we are 5 or 10 years away from something like this happening on British soil. Alan Lake, a founder... Who's Alan Lake? Just tell us briefly.
Not a founder.
Who is he?
Can we stop speculating and saying lies on the radio?
Who is Alan Lake? Do you know Alan Lake?
I know Alan Lake.
Right. He said, well, he's claimed he's a founder. He said that something like this happening will be logical and inevitable. But you said last night we're 5 or 10 years away from something like this happening.
Yeah,
nothing. Do you? Well, nothing. It sounds like you're justifying it. It sounds like you're creating a narrative, a toxic interpretation, which is exactly what Islamist terrorists do. They say British foreign policy creates a powder keg for terrorism at home. You are doing a mirror image, exactly the same thing.
Excuse me. I believe the Quilliam Foundation. The man on the phone has said exactly that. The British foreign policy creates terrorism.
No, that's not true.
Yes, you have. No. And you organise it. But can I just say, Can I just say, first of all, you are part of the Quilliam Foundation. You get paid government money, hundreds of thousands of pounds in grants to talk about Islamic extremism, don't you, Maajid? Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
That's not true either.
You, Maajid?
That's not true. Let him speak, Maajid.
So what does your organisation run off? It runs off government-funded money. You are funded to give your opinion.
Yes.
I am here on the radio because I'm passionate about my country, my children's future, the threat of Islam. I'm a volunteer, Maajid. You're not a volunteer. If you was a volunteer, I'd accept that what you're saying is coming from your heart, but it's not. What you're saying is coming from a paycheck.
I think the day that you got any government money would be a pretty worrying one. And a senior member of the EDL is quoted in the Daily Telegraph, a senior member, on condition of anonymity, saying he understood Breivik had met EDL leaders when he came to Britain to hear Hert Wilders speak. Let me ask you a straight series of questions. You can give me a yes or no on this. Had you heard of him?
Never ever heard of him in my life.
Right. This is on the record. Just remember, all this is on the record.
Yep.
Did you know of him?
No, I didn't know of him. Never known of him in my life.
Were you aware that he had ever been here?
No, I don't. But is there any evidence or proof that he's been in an English Defence League demonstration, or you're going to speculate and give rumours of anonymous people saying this, anonymous people saying that? Give me facts. The facts are, he says the facts are the EDL are naive fools. That's what he calls us in his manifesto. So if you want to sit here and do word association and try and condemn and slander our organisation with no facts other than your own opinion, we don't need opinion. There's opinions like elbows. Everyone's got two.
Well, if you want to say what he said, he also praised you at another point.
No, he praised us in the early days.
In the early days, right?
Yeah,
okay.
and just before his manifesto.
He also said, I used to have more than 600 EDL members as Facebook friends and have spoken with tens of EDL members and leaders. In fact, I was one of the individuals who supplied them with processed ideological material. That's what he said.
You know Radio 5 Live's Facebook group, which has tens of thousands of members. Do you know every one of them? Just speak to every one of them personally. No, you don't.
We're all going on holiday together. Yeah. Maajid Nawaz, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I want to come in. First of all, just to correct you, opinions are like elbows. Everyone's got two. Fact. Quilliam Foundation is not funded by the government. Our funding ceased last year. We are supported by voluntary donations. I'm a volunteer. I'm a law graduate. I could be practicing law.
Concentrate on this issue.
On this subject,
between the likes of
Mr. Lennon, just as Al-Muhajirun and Hizb ut-Tahrir extremism is responsible for Islamist terrorism, EDL fascism and racism must surely be responsible for this type of terrorism. Do you or do you not agree?
No, I don't agree. How are we responsible? We condemn all acts of violence. We'll try.
Mr. Lennon, I'll be back with you. So your microphone's just starting very badly. Mr. Lennon, I'll be back with you in just a second. Stay right there. But let's hear the rest of Maajid's sentence, and then I'll give you an uninterrupted run. Maajid Nawaz.
So, first point I'm saying is, if we, as right-minded citizens, want to condemn Islamist extremists for inspiring Islamist jihadist terrorists, then of course that's the right thing to do, and it's similarly the right thing to do, therefore, by implication and by necessity, to condemn right-wing extremists such as the EDL, people who used to stab at me when I was a youth in Essex, for the terrorism that arose from their fascist ideology. Secondly, I would say, as we condemn Al-Qaeda sympathizers who go on air and justify terrorism by holding this country hostage, by saying that if you don't listen to our foreign policy grievances, then we will blow you up. We must condemn spokespersons of the EDL, as they did on Newsnight, as you did on Newsnight last night, who said exactly the same thing, that if you don't listen to us, somebody in 5 or 10 years' time will blow this country up. Thirdly, I would say to you that as we recognise that not every white Essex lad is a far-right fascist and a racist, as the EDL members are, we must also recognise that not every Muslim is an extremist. Now, your rhetoric is, there's a glaring double standard in these 3 points, and I want you to address that double standard right now on air.
Okay, and you will. And also, what did you mean when you said we are 5 or 10 years away from something like this happening on British soil?
But can you please address those 3 points?
Right, over to you.
Maajid, give me a minute, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, I believe, that is my belief, that unless things are changed, unless something, and that's not what I want, God forbid it, do we want to learn from this and prevent something like this happening again, or do we want to play the blame game? Because playing the blame game has resulted in Norway from this lunatic in people getting killed. We need to learn from it. We need to accept that.
You sound like Anjem Chaudhry of Maajid.
Well, let him answer. Let him answer.
Let me answer.
Let's hear it, because I think. Well, can I just say something at this point? The most dangerous thing is to suppress views. Let's hear him. Let's hear Anjem Chaudhry. Let's hear Tommy Robinson, Mr. Lennon. Let's hear him. On you go.
The point is suppressing views, which is what you're trying to do. Anyone who talks out against Islam, now I'm not being funny, but on 7/7, then people blew themselves up and they used the ideology of Islam. Now, does that mean that Muslim leaders were responsible for it? Just because they share a similar ideology, but they're not as extreme. We shared a similar ideology with this lunatic in the fact that we believe Islam is a threat. We have always condemned all acts of violence. We are a non-fascist, non-racist, anti-Nazi organisation, in the man's words himself. The media campaign against us, people like yourself giving this view of us, what have we done that's extreme? What have the English Defence League ever done that's extreme, other than want to talk about our concerns?
Apart from you being convicted for a criminal offence yesterday.
Oh, that's really extreme, putting your hands in the air outside a football stadium. Let's not get away from the point.
So you don't agree with our judiciary now, do you?
Why are you going way off the point? That is so petty.
You just asked me a question. You said, what have you done that's extreme? You were convicted for a criminal offence.
Okay, away from that, the point is, Mr. Lennon, the point is, Mr. Lennon, that there is a similarity between the narrative that you seem to be creating the toxic interpretation of inevitability. I speak to people like Anjem Choudhury, and they say the same thing that you do. A mirror image. That's what they say.
No, they don't say they're worried.
They say British foreign policy is going to lead to another atrocity.
Hold on. Islamic fundamentalists don't say they're worried. They say we want to impose Sharia law and we want to take over this country. What I'm saying is...
They say unless British foreign policy changes, there's going to be an atrocity. What's going to happen?
I am seriously worried, okay? I'm seriously worried about the level of anger that everyone, think tanks, you're a Muslim think tank, Quilliam Foundation, but where are the think tanks to express there is a massive undercurrent of anger across this entire country with what is happening to our communities, with the spread of Islamism, Sharia law, etc. Why is it that 24% of people in Norway voted for an anti-Islam party? Why is it Denmark? Why is it Holland? Why is it France? Why is it every single European country is going against Islam? I'll tell you why it is, because Islam is incompatible with Western freedoms and democracy.
Mr. Lennon, can I ask you a question? As a Muslim, I am willingly, openly ready to admit that not every Christian is an extremist. As a non-Muslim, are you ready to admit that not every Muslim is an extremist?
Mate, I'm from Luton. I know great Muslims. Some of my best friends growing up.
And Christianity is not responsible for Breivik. Is Islam responsible for extremism?
It's in the teachings. It's in the ideology.
Right. So there's your double standard. On the one hand, you say Christianity is not resposible for Breivik, though he claimed he was inspired by Christianity, and yet you're saying Islam is responsible for Al Qaeda terrorism.
Maajid Nawaz, why is there such concern by decent people? And we hear it on phone-ins, we see it in emails, I'm seeing it now in texts, we see it in the support for the Progress Party in Norway and for other parties in Scandinavia. This is the point that Mr. Robinson makes. Why is there such concern about Islamic immigration and the effect of Islam on Europe? Is it misplaced?
No, we set up Quilliam to address this very concern. We are at the forefront of challenging Islamist extremism, but what we do is differentiate it from Islam, the faith, and from the vast majority of Muslims who are ordinary citizens. Religious conservatism, whether Christianity, Judaism or Islam, is not the same as extremism. Extremism is trying to impose your views on others either by violence or by law. Forcing one view of Islam onto society is extreme. Now, we set Quilliam up because we recognize that there is a valid concern. Islamism is going unchecked in certain quarters of Europe, and we as Muslims established Quilliam to challenge that type of extremism.
Right.
But we as Muslims recognize that likewise there's a symbiotic relationship between extreme Islamists and far-right fascists. They feed each other. They justify each other's existence. So just as it's natural and our duty to challenge racism, it's natural and our duty to challenge Islamism. We must challenge both.
Thank you very much. Thank you both, Maajid Nawaz and Tommy Robinson there. It's 8:52 and this is 5 Live Breakfast.